Good morning, Mr. Moya. Are we almost ready, sir?
Morning, Mr. Chavez. Yes, almost ready. I'll let you know once we're live. We'll be good to go.
Okay, thank you, folks. We're just waiting to go live, people. How's everybody today?
Good. Mr. Chavez, we are now live.
Okay, good. Okay, so we are on the record. We have a certified court reporter, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you for being here this morning. And we are here on an appeal. My name is Stephen Chavez. Today's date is July 12th, 2021. And this is a time-sensitive quasi-judicial administrative appeal from a decision of the zoning hearing examiner, the ZHE, and its number is AC-21-10. A record of this hearing is being made by Mr. Sanchez, a certified court reporter, and I note for the record that I did receive a supplemental packet, looks like a couple of days ago, perhaps regarding photographs from the party opponent, Miss King, I believe. Is Miss King here?
She should be on any minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me turn up my volume while we're waiting. So I note that the appellants are here, Michelle Myers and Kyle Malone, correct? Are you folks the appellants?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay, let's get started and I will swear you in. Please, both of you raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and only the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes. Let me move so I can see you right in front. Okay, good. And anybody else who will testify will have to be sworn in. When Ms. King comes on our conference hearing, she will be sworn in. So go ahead and proceed. Well, hold on a second. Let me, Miss Love, are you here with Ms. King?
Yes, and she just texted me she's having trouble getting in, and then we had one other person that was going to be here as well. So
well, let's wait then. I would
just give us a minute. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So let's go off the record for a few minutes until Miss King and the other person comes on, and we will get started then. Okay? Thank you. Miss Love, what you may want to do is ask Miss King, text her and ask her to get a hold of Mr. Moya. Perhaps Mr. Julian Moya can help her. And I don't have Mr. Moya's phone number. Mr. Moya, do you have a direct line she can get a hold of you at?
Yeah, it's 505-768-2511. We did have somebody just call in now.
Oh, good. Okay, maybe that was her.
Okay, thank you.
Could the individual called in at the phone number 310-739-0321 just identify yourselves, please?
You have to unmute. Miss Love, do you recognize that phone number?
I do. It should be a neighbor on Hollywood Avenue.
Okay, so it's not Miss King.
No, should be a resident.
Okay. Looks like I see Miss King.
Hello.
Hello, Miss King, are you there?
No, this is DeMarcos Divine. I reside at 2115 Hollywood. Sorry, I didn't unmute my phone earlier. I apologize. I'm trying to do too many things at once.
Okay, please mute again. Thank you. Miss King?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, good. We will get started now. Ms. King, let me swear you in. I've sworn in the appellants, and I would like to swear you in. Is there anybody that will be testifying on your side other than you?
It will possibly be Brittany Love, the owner of the lot, and Mr. Divine as well.
Okay, is Mr. Devine on the conference call?
Yes, he was just speaking with you.
Oh, he was. Okay. So, Mr. Devine, I can't see you, so I will use the honor system. Miss Love, Miss King, and Mr. Devine, can you please, all three of you, raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and only the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Wonderful.
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Myers and Mr. Malone, go ahead. I will give you as much time as you need to make your case. And I've read the record. I've read the entire record, so I'm familiar with it.
All right, thank you very much. Based on the findings from the zoning hearing examiner, it seems that many of the concerns of the residents of Hollywood Avenue were not addressed in the decision. And we don't think they're fully thought through given the uniqueness of our historic neighborhood. As mentioned in the previous meeting, Hollywood Avenue is an extremely narrow road at just over 12 feet. And the lot at 2311 is below 3,500 square feet. And we really believe the setbacks are important in any neighborhood, but even more so on our street. We would like to, it was stated in the approval letter that enforcement of the standard setback requirements essentially would render the lot unbuildable for residential purposes. And there was no evidence supporting this statement. If one were to visit Hollywood Avenue, he or she would find it quite the opposite. In fact, almost all the properties along the north side of Hollywood are the same depth, and they're fairly close to the same width as 2311. And pretty much most of them are built with at least a 10-foot setback in the front. Also in the variance acceptance letter, the variance approved is a minimum necessary to avoid extraordinary hardship. We're just curious what the extraordinary hardship is that you would be incurring by having to abide by the 10-foot setback. There's been several other houses built on this road within the past 5 or so years. And it didn't seem like there was really an issue with that, with those builds. They're fairly similar in lot size. We don't know why abiding by at least the front setback would be an issue, especially given the narrowness of our road, and especially for a house that's being built for someone that's not actually planning on living on this street. We don't really understand how there's going to be extraordinary hardship with that. And it's from our understanding, setbacks are designed to widen streets to help deal with any sort of congestion. As well, streets and roads have setbacks to ensure that it's wide enough to accommodate any growing populations. We find it even more important on this road because it's half the size of a typical regulation size road to maintain those setbacks.
And to create a safe space between our properties where our children play in the front yard. That's kind of a concern because if the setback is reduced to 5 feet, our houses are going to be a lot closer together than most of the other houses on our street. And if it's a 2-story house, there's concerns about if the setback is decreased, will they be able to see into our bedroom windows that face the street, our children's bedroom windows that face the street, into our yard, our front yard where our children play. as well as the potential of blocking light. And
Yeah. No, it's going to be a 2-story building from our understanding as well. And so there would definitely be, they're overlooking into our yard and into our house.
Yeah, and it just seems that other people have been able to build homes with the 10-foot setback, and it just feels extremely important on our road, giving the 12-foot width to have that setback remain. We're not in opposition to the rear setback, but the front setback feels really important, especially considering that our houses are going to be right across from each other and extremely close.
Yeah. And many of the residents on the street who live in close proximity to this property agree that there really shouldn't be a decrease in the 10-foot setback, that rule was put there for a reason. Yeah. It's not really necessary to build an adequate home on this lot, as evidenced by many of the other homes on this street. And it, decreasing the setback could bring potential risk and harm to any street, and we think much so more on ours. Given the width of Hollywood Avenue, maintaining that 10-foot setback is important, and we really hope you reconsider your decision to approve the request for a reduce in the front setback.
Well, now it's not my decision, and I don't really have the authority to reconsider it. I have the authority to make a finding that the ZHE erred in some way.
Okay.
But you'd have to prove that the ZHE erred. This isn't really a second bite at the apple. This is an appeal on the record based on the evidence in the record. I have a couple of questions for you. Is Hollywood Avenue, is it a cul-de-sac? Does it end somewhere, or does it connect with other streets?
It's a thoroughway, and it's a 2-way street at that.
Boy, it is a very narrow street. I agree with you on that point. It's my understanding from the site plan, and perhaps I can ask Ms. King this later when she has her opportunity to present her case. It's my understanding that the lot is not 3,500 feet, but it's essentially 3,100 feet. It's 44 feet by 74 feet roughly. So that would be about 108 feet, or 3,108 feet, square feet of lot. Are the other lots similar in size, or are they smaller or larger than that?
They're similar in size. I mean, there's definitely, our lot's going to be larger than 3,500. The lot to the west is going to be larger. The lot to the right is probably going to be fairly similar. The lot right across the street, our next door neighbors to the east, has a significantly, it's probably maybe 1,500 square feet, if not less. So I mean, I think it varies throughout the whole street, but they're not extraordinarily. It's not going to be a great difference between all the lots.
Now, the standard for a variance it's a five-prong test, and the first prong is the most difficult prong to meet, but it doesn't require that the evidence of a lot that is non-buildable. As you suggested, the evidence that's required is that there is an extraordinary hardship. So that's sort of a mitigated standard from a lot that's entirely unbuildable as a result. So I don't think the argument is that it's unbuildable. It was my understanding that the argument is that it creates a hardship. And your question is, what specifically is the hardship? And certainly I'm sure Ms. King can describe that. I thought from the record, the hardship was creating more parking space, or at least sufficient parking space for a residential use, rather than parking on the street, which most people are doing on that street. Do you disagree with that?
I mean, I think there's, from my knowledge, of all the neighbors, there's 2 to 3 houses on our street that park on the street. Most people have parking spots
On their property.
on their property.
Right. Okay, thank you. Are you finished? And you will have some time for rebuttal.
Okay.
So, and what that means is that you can rebut the arguments made by Ms. King. You can also cross-examine Ms. King or Ms. Love in their testimony, but now you are subject to cross-examination. Ms. King, do you have any cross-examination questions, or Ms. Love, do you have any cross-examination questions for the appellants? And it would be just questions, not argument.
Sure.
Ms. King? I can't hear you. You have to unmute your. Okay.
There we go. Sorry about that. I know that one of the statements that they had made is a concern regarding
No,
child.
well, hold on. This
Go ahead.
isn't your time to make an argument.
No,
This
I
is
know,
your
it's
time to just
regarding-
ask. Let me finish. This is your time to just ask questions of Mr. Malone or Ms. Myers regarding their testimony. You will be given separate time
Yeah.
to make an argument.
I understand. I was trying to reference something they said, but I'll just wait.
You have no questions for them?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Love, do you have any questions for Mr. Malone or Ms. Myers?
I have a question, but it's not regarding anything that they've stated in this hearing just yet. So I don't know if we should hold off on it until it's.
Well, if you have a
Brought up.
question for them, certainly ask it, and I'll let you know whether or not I want them to answer that question. Okay.
Okay.
ahead.
Mr. and Ms. Myers, when the lot was listed for sale, did you make an offer on the property?
My
Not
fault.
us personally, no.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So, Ms. King, Ms. Love, this is your opportunity to make your arguments. Either one of you or both of you.
Okay, I'll start. Make sure you can hear me.
I can hear you.
As previously stated in the zone hearing meeting, one of the concerns was child safety when playing in the street. And we believe that that safety would be decreased by parking on the street because it would make it more difficult for vehicles to see children if they're playing on the opposite side of the parked vehicle, and or they may dart out not knowing that a vehicle's coming, as well as the difficulty with not being able to put a garage on this lot, and that would require the homeowner to park on the street. There is a requirement when placing a garage on a lot to have a setback from the front boundary of 20 feet. This lot only being 40 feet deep would not allow that with the,
That's 43 and some change.
okay, with the back setback and then
Might
the,
be wrong though. Go ahead. I apologize.
no problem. With the rear setback, which now we did get an extra 5 feet there, and then the 10-foot setback on the front of the lot, if that is maintained, there would not be enough space to put a garage on that lot. The owner could, I guess, park in that 10 feet space between the street and the home. That would be the only other option, horizontally, basically in their front yard. In addition to that, we did a conceptual drawing, and I'm sure you have seen a copy of that. In that drawing, the master bedroom is only 10 foot 9 inches wide by 14 feet 9 inches deep. If we had to maintain actually that 10-foot front setback, that master then would be reduced to 10 feet 9 inches wide by 9 feet 9 inches deep. That is not a master bedroom. It's not even hardly a secondary bedroom.
Let me correct my mistake before you proceed. You were correct. It's 41.93 feet deep.
Okay.
So my apologies. Go ahead.
Let's see. The other thing is that even if we, sorry, my phone is making noise here. Even if we had to, lost my train of thought now. So the homeowner, as did Ms. Myers and Mr. Malone, is allowed to put up a fence on the front boundary, which is approximately 15 inches from the edge of the street. Now, even if, well, the Malones and Myers actually constructed their fence up, butted it up to the curb of the street, which decreases the space for children to play. But even if she did construct a fence there, that extra 5 feet on the front setback would have no bearing whatsoever on children playing in the street, because it would sit only approximately 16 inches from the street. So I don't understand, why there is a need to prevent her from using an extra 5 feet in the front setback so that she can construct a garage to park off street and to have a reasonably sized home.
Ms. King, let me ask you a question before you proceed. The photographs that you provided to me in a supplemental exhibit,
Yes.
why are those relevant? I have a guess why they're relevant, but I'd like for you to tell me what specifically makes them relevant.
Okay. One of the photos shows a vehicle parked on the street to give a visual of the obstruction that would create for vehicles that are passing by and or for children playing, which could be dangerous to do so with vehicles parked on the street. The other is a picture of the coyote fence in front of Miss Myers and Mr. Malone's homes, showing that
Which one is that? Which photograph is that?
Ooh, I have to look at the number on them.
Well, don't worry about the number. What is in the photograph?
A coyote fence. So it is the sticks, and the house is a peach color, I think, with a turquoise mailbox.
I know which photograph that is.
Yes, and that fence is butted up against the curb of the street to demonstrate that, they themselves have reduced area for children playing in the street. But if we then park a car there in front of Miss Love's lot, which is exactly straight across the street from their home, that's a very unsafe place for children to play or for vehicles to even try to get around. The other photos in that show the vehicles that have been parked on Miss Love's lot. This has been consistent. In fact, it appears that this butter colored vehicle may even be broken down. The hood is popped up and it's been sitting there in the same place for quite some time now.
Why is that relevant?
Because we believe that is the real reason that the appeal is happening.
I've been down there in person asking whose vehicles there were. At one time, there were 4 cars on the lot. And Miss Myers was outside and had said that 2 of them were hers. And I asked her to just, use her parking space. So their lot is double in size. So they have, I think, at least a driveway that can hold 2 cars because they have a double lot size than mine. I was just going to say, Mr. DeMarcus had to go. He had a hearing at 9:30. So he just texted me that he wanted to testify next. But let me see if I can find out if he can sign back in just a minute.
Okay, Ms. King, while we're waiting for Ms. Love, is there anything more you have to say? And I don't want you to make this personal between Mr. Malone and Ms. Myers and Ms. Love. Honestly, those issues are irrelevant to me. Mm-hmm. The issue for me, and the Supreme Court, I apologize, that the City Council has given me authority to do and has delegated to me is to determine whether or not the ZHE's decision is erroneous in some way, in some respect, under the guidelines, under the requirements, whether or not he made a mistake with the facts of the case, or whether or not he made a mistake in applying the rules, the law to the case. Right. So the issue is whether or not there's extraordinary hardship. I think it's clear that the lot is unique in its dimensions.
Yes.
I think that's clear. And so I get the questions that the Malones have, I'm sorry, Ms. Myers and Mr. Malone, the question they have is, what is the extraordinary hardship? Now, I know the ZHE heard evidence of extraordinary hardship.
Yes.
So if you could focus in on that.
Yes, I believe I've already stated the hardship is that the home, for instance, the master bedroom or any bedroom of that size is almost unlivable. But then the other is that it would force the homeowner to park the vehicle on the street versus on the lot to provide safety, potential safety for children playing on the street, which I think is actually opposite. It would actually create a more unsafe situation. We are not able to place the garage on there, as I mentioned before, with the required 20-foot setback of the garage if we maintain that 10-foot setback on the front.
Ms. Love, is there anything else you would like to add?
I was under the impression that they submitted an offer on that. That's what they stated in the last hearing. So I am curious who, they seem to be very aware of, you know, they stated that they made an offer on it at the last hearing. So I would just
With
like
all due
clarification on that.
Let me stop you there. With all due respect, I don't think that's a relevant consideration for at least my analysis of the ZHE's decision. It might have been relevant for the ZHE to deal with because it's a factual issue. And I understand you're arguing it because it concerns their motivation. But it's not relevant for me because I'm looking at whether or not the ZHE erred. I'm not reconsidering the case. I'm just finding my authority is only limited. It's limited to whether or not the ZHE erred in his decision, whether or not he erred in the facts and whether or not he erred in applying the law. And so that,
Okay.
nothing else. Okay.
That's fine. Mhm.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Again, just the different lot sizes. There are some that are about double in size. I even found one that's catty corner, which is about 1/4 of an acre, which is almost 1/3 of the size bigger than mine. So some of them that do already have garages and parking spaces, they have a much bigger lot. So they're not all the same. And, you know, I think that should be about it. The last hearing, they called my lot a Home Depot shed size lot. And now they're claiming that it's completely very similar to the rest on the street. So I just feel like there's a lot of contradicting information from the last time until now. And I just wanted clarification on some of those things. But yes, my lot size is 0.08.
You will have an opportunity to ask questions of Ms. Myers and Mr. Malone. I apologize.
Okay.
With regard to, I have a question though. What is the footprint size of the proposed home?
It is 1,185 square feet. And that consists of the master bedroom size that I mentioned. It also consists of a guest room that is also 10 foot 9 inches wide by 12 feet 9 inches. A 15 by 15 living area and an even smaller kitchen with a very short, about 8 feet long by 3 foot wide hallway and utility room.
Does that include the garage?
That does not include the garage.
What's the footprint of the proposed garage?
It is. Let's see. It is a 2-car garage. That is approximately, looks like 16 feet wide.
So a standard.
And 17 foot deep.
That's what I was going to say. Okay.
It isn't, yes, it isn't overly sized.
Okay. Mr. Malone, Ms. Myers, do you have questions of Ms. King or Ms. Love? And I understand that there's been some personal issues. Again, that's not relevant for this hearing. You folks are potentially going to be neighbors, and it's not conducive to a low stress life to have conflicts with your neighbors. So if you have questions, let's keep the questions to the facts of the case and the law. Okay.
Sure. No, I just have one thing. The lot that's directly east of our house on the south side of Hollywood, it has 2-car parking in the lot. And
Let me stop you there. You can make a rebuttal argument in just a moment.
Sure.
This is your opportunity now to ask questions of the folks that have just testified.
I'm curious, if you're unable to build a garage, you say that's whoever lives there will have to park on the street. There's no other alternative to that.
yeah, everyone else parks in their lot.
We don't.
Hold on. That's a good question. Ms. Love?
I would let Miss King answer that because I'm not aware of like the setbacks.
Understood. Ms.
and
King?
things like that. Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned, they could park in the 10-foot setback right in front of their house. That would be an option.
So
And that I think was presented in one of the pictures that you submitted as well,
Okay.
Ms. Myers.
Now,
So-
no, this isn't not a time to argue. She
Oh,
gave you an answer and you're stuck with the answer.
I had a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just curious then if the footprint of the house takes up the entire lot, with the exception of perhaps a 10-foot setback.
Ms. King, did you understand the question?
Yes, she wants to know if we could park on the lot next to the house versus in front of it. Is that
Or if
correct?
there's others,
Hold on. Go ahead, Ms. Myers. I apologize. I just don't want two people to speak at once.
exactly, I'm sorry. That's just my question in terms of the footprint of the house. Many people have a foot, a house and then park on the other area. Knowing the lot size when you purchased it, did you consider a footprint that would accommodate the required 10-foot setback and parking on the property?
We did consider that. We considered a lot of options. We considered a carport or something instead of a garage. But even with that, you have a similar issue there because it does have a roof line. It does have a roof on it as well. The home is already incredibly small. It sounds like people don't want her to build up. They don't want a garage. This lot was part of another larger lot from my understanding, and then it was divided, making this incredibly hard to build a reasonably sized home and still have parking.
But you were aware of the lot size when you purchased it.
I did not purchase it.
Ms. Love? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was aware of it. There's not too many lots left on that street, so
And
it was a developed area, and it seemed that a lot of the houses were close to the street. So, yeah, I did.
Let me interrupt. The issue is not whether or not she should be building a house. I think it's well established under the IDO that Ms. Love does have a right to build a house on that lot, even if it were a smaller lot. And she can build a 2-story home as well. I think that's permissive in this zone. So that's not an issue for this appeal. I'm sorry.
the concern is the distance between our homes
Right.
and the setback. That's the major concern.
Yeah, now your home is it next door? Right next door? It's the home next
directly
door. Okay.
Across the street.
And our home sits 12 feet from the street.
Okay. So but the setback is for the front and the rear yard, not for the side yard, correct? Ms. King?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, good. Do you have any more questions, Ms. Myers or Mr. Malone? Just questions. I'll let you make a rebuttal argument as well.
This is a question. I just was curious if it was ever considered to have a 0-foot setback in the back to maintain the 10-foot setback in the front.
It was. And the problem with that is that there is another private lot immediately abutting the back of Miss Love's lot, which would not allow any bedrooms whatsoever across the back of the home because there would not be any means of egress that way, which is a safety issue because they could not get out of the house on that side if necessary in case of a fire.
Got it. Thank you.
We also considered a zero lot line on a side, such as the neighbor just to our east, where we have the same issue there.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ms. King, Ms. Love. The other person did not make it to the hearing. I can't wait for that person, so I think we're just going to proceed. Ms. Myers, Mr. Malone, you have an opportunity to make a rebuttal argument.
Yeah, I think we just really are concerned about the distance between our homes.
And during the original meeting, I mean, we did have 4 other neighbors showing up with the similar concerns of just, if you're going to build a new house, it should really fulfill the rules, and especially on our road being so narrow that it doesn't make sense to change those rules.
I don't think we would have any problem if it was a regulation size road, which I believe is like 24 feet. But given the distance between our lots already being extremely short, that's just the concern, you know, and of course the 2-story, I'm not opposing the 2-story. I'm opposing if it's very close to our house, being able to see into our children's bedroom, our bedroom, our front yard, and then blocking light and visibility potentially. So it just feels like the setback is important to considering the width of our road, and that it just seems like that wasn't really considered, how narrow our road is and our houses are right across the street from each other. When if you went down our street, most of the homes are staggered and none of them are built. If they are across from each other, they are not that close together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, in this situation, they would be right across from each other and with a 2-story, and very close to ours.
Regulation size streets are 40 feet now, so
that's why. Yeah,
it's a very narrow street. I agree with you. It's a very narrow street. So
and it will feel different, you know, like it'll feel more congested, and it'll change the flow of the street as well. But the real concern is the distance between our homes, and that's what we really would like to be considered.
How does building the home on this lot with just a variance for the front and the rear, how does that affect the distance to your home when there isn't a variance for the side yard? It seems to me that if the variance were for the side yard, then it would be closer to your home, but it's not, correct?
No, I mean, so we're on the south side of Hollywood. Hollywood runs east-west. We're on the south side, and they're on the north side. 2311's on the north side. So
I see. Okay.
We're across the street.
We're directly across.
Across the street. I misunderstood. I thought you were right next door.
No, across the street.
I see that it feels next door with the street, but okay.
Yes.
Got it. Understood.
And as far as the parking, I don't believe that they would be required to park on the street if there is a 10-foot, if we keep the 10-foot setback. I think there would still be room. I mean, as evidence to right to our east. I mean, their lot is probably 1,000 square feet, maybe a little bit more, and they have 2 parking spots in their yard.
Yeah.
Now, my authority is limited. I don't have the authority to go back and say, well, you know, this fact is relevant. I'm here to look at what the ZHE did. And
we don't think
and decide whether or not the ZHE erred with the facts or with applying those facts to the law. Not, it's,
yes.
Anyway, go ahead.
We think that they just overlooked those facts when presented.
Okay.
That was something that was shown, especially with the many neighbors that came and joined that meeting in opposition to the request for the variance. That we don't think there is that hardship in having to build with the with the 10-foot setback.
Understood. Great. Okay, thank you. Are you finished?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes,
So
thank you.
here's how it works. I understand everybody that's on this conference hearing hasn't participated in appeals before. So I will draft a recommendation to the city council. I have 15 days to do that. When I send it to the city council, I'll send it to you folks simultaneously. Okay. I note that Ms. King provided a correct email address for somebody whose address was incorrectly placed in the record. So I will use your email noting that correct address. Okay, folks. Thank you. Please don't send me any more documents or any more arguments. The record's completely closed at this point. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.